here, Hydra Sailing Solutions, and we're going to go through the debrief for the IC37's Winter Series 2 in Lauderdale. Had great conditions. Lauderdale is one of my favorite places to sail. A lot of trade winds can affect and just really be very pleasant. Rarely is there not enough wind to sail. A lot of 32 sailing we've done down there. Sources back in the day with the big boats. Henderson 30s, Melges 32s, just a lot of fun out of Lauderdale. One of the unique things about Lauderdale is the current element. The Gulf Stream has a big effect on the race course, depending on how close the Gulf Stream is or how far it is offshore during the days you're sailing. Some back eddies can happen for sure, and we saw a lot of that this weekend at the Melges IC37 regatta. They also, when you put the starting line, there's not a lot of room. You got about 1.5 miles from where you can be close to the beach till you start to get to a little bit of the deeper water. So depending on the wind direction, has effect of kind of where and how the current affects things. And also the sea state, as there's really 3 reefs, 3 bumps in the bottom that you are noticeable, and so just need to notice that and get a sense of what those are. But there are definitely 3 different steps from the shallows down to the deeper water. So always good breeze, usually out of the east as the trade winds kind of played out, and we saw a good bit of that southeast on Thursday or on Friday and Saturday, and then on Sunday came out of the north, kind of that northwest, which is a lot harder because the wind's coming off the land a little bit, a little more tricky conditions. So, all right, I want to go through and just look at the PDF file of the review, the notes here. This is the debrief for series number 2. And some of the things we talked about in the heavier practice day, we'll go through some of these notes here, is that loading up the leeward runner. Before when you're overpowered, you want to make sure when you exit the tack that the windward runner, the new runner, is on to where it should be. If you don't get that runner on quickly and you come out of the tack, the sails are powered up, the boat leans over more, not everybody's on the rail, you have to ease the main more. So the better that you can get that runner onto the setting when you exit the tack and you hit the jib and you press on it, it will be better. So a technique of making sure you don't ease the leeward runner too quickly. You can actually put the windward runner on a bit and then ease the leeward runner. So that helps at especially in the bigger breeze, to make sure that you don't have to grind a whole bunch on to get to those settings. To get it tight enough. And I can see I got one little video here of a little bit lighter air, but it kind of gives you a sense. Let's see if we can do this. May not be able to. Let's see if we can close tab. So let me go over here. There we go. Okay, so this is the Bandit team up in Newport, and about ready for attack here. So go down, you load the leeward runner. And before you loosen the windward runner, should be cranking on and then loosen the leeward runner. So that was just a little bit early on the loosen. But in this wind condition, it's okay. It's not really honking, but as the wind gets windier, you want to make sure that you hold the old windward runner a little bit more to tighten up the leeward and then let it go. And then you got to be a little bit careful on the leeward runner of, if you do it too early, you actually pull the main to windward a little bit. So there's a huge technique, but it makes a big difference in getting out of the tack and holding your speed a lot better. Okay. Constant heel angle. Obviously, this boat responds very, very well to having a heel angle not too flat. There's a lot of wetted surface on the the back of the boat, so having the boat heeled over a little bit helps that for sure. So have to really work on body weight movement and just making sure that everybody, the sails, the runner, the main sheet, are all working together to try to keep constant heel angle. Okay, third thing here was the vang setting. Just getting the profile. If you look at the picture on the right here, blazer, vangs off a little bit more. You get a little bit more twist in it. Trying to not fully match the profile of the spinnaker, but definitely want to make sure that most of the boats, half of the boats, had a little bit too much vang on. You can see here, this other boat has, this is too tight in this current situation. Want to have it just a little bit more twisty. A little bit more match the kite profile. Okay. All right. One of the things also we saw was in the heavier air on the practice stay, when you go for the hoist, you want to be able to normally, if the tactician doesn't call it, you want to be able to dig down below what your normal angle would be for that starboard tack during the hoist and get a little bit deep, and then when the kite rings the bell, you bring the bow up and the kite fills, and you're just about half a boat length to leeward of a boat that actually went straight. So comms that need to happen from the tactician is really kind of three different things, right? Normal set, depending on wind. The more the wind, the more you can dig down, makes it easier, makes the kite less of a chance of wrapping on the way up. That's a bit of a normal dig down and then pull the bow up on the set. The second one is straight. You just want to bear off to what you think the proper angle is and let the sails go up and fill in. Usually in lighter situations, just because going down and coming back up in the super light just isn't as fast. It's just kind of going straight and helping the kite fill a little bit earlier. And then the third is high, protecting high a little bit. You want to protect high, and when they call the hoist, you want to just bear off right before the kite fills back down to kind of a normal angle. But that's a little bit harder to do on the hoist and things like that. But tactician needs to call those modes. All right, late main jibe. Just as you can see in a little bit of the picture here, what we talk about is the main shouldn't come over until the clew of the spinnaker goes around the forestay and comes back and touches the shroud. It really makes it so the kite can fill and just makes it a heck of a lot easier and a lot quicker. And the key there is the turn rate on the helm. Really want to just start to squeeze down. You want to ease the kite out and squeeze down very slowly and let the kite go around the forestay. So it's all about just being a little bit slower on the turn, the initial turn down, the first half of it. Okay. Let's see if I might have a video. Let's see if I can pull a video. These guys had one. See if I can find it real quick. Okay, here's one right here. Let's see how this one goes. All right, getting ready for a jibe here. Holding the boom out, easing the main sheet out. You can see kite's boat just slowly, seeking the rudders turn just a little bit. It's just a slow turn under the kite. You don't want it to collapse, so you're actually the helmsman kind of watching the person ease in here. You just want it to, this is like a perfect ease right here where the kite's still full and pulling, still full, and then now you can see, now it's around the forestay, they pull it back right to the shroud, and the main comes over. And a little snap down is always nice, just to make the front of the kite flop through. But don't hold it. Very nice jibe. Light air, you don't have to hurry to get the kite. Let's look at the weight management here. Let's see, weight over. Everybody stays low. Maybe a little bit of press. No, maybe a little press there at the end, just to get a little squirt out of it, but very good. Okay, let's go on to, this is kind of my Friday notes. First day of racing. Talked about getting out to the race course and doing a practice time and distance on the start. One of the things that a lot of the really, really good teams do is they get a feeling for how long it takes the boat to accelerate and get up to speed and get a feeling of the starting line before the very first start of the day. And I'm a big believer in this. I think it's very important to get a feeling for how the boat accelerates. The jib trimmers, the main trimmers, the bow person, the helmsman, the tactician, body weight movement at the start. Everybody needs to get a little feeling for, is it going to be hard to get going? Is it lumpy in light air, really hard to accelerate? Or is it going to be flat water, a little bit easier? You know, the density of the wind with temperature, all these little things. So that's why it's very important to get out there and just get a couple of practice runs. If you can get one in, great. If you get two in, great. But what that means is you should have a morning routine of always trying to be on the race course where the race committee will be. They're usually very good about being there somewhere an hour beforehand, definitely there 45 minutes beforehand. Get out to the race course where you're going to be starting and then go upwind. And then look around, look at the wind patterns, try to figure out of the puffs righties or the puff lefties, what's the cloud coverage look like? And then start getting a sense of the current, looking at crab pots, whatever you can to just get a sense of what's going on before the start of the first race. But hugely important, the good teams, as we all know, the start's one of the most important part of the race. So we just make sure you practice that and give yourself enough time to leave the dock and do it. The second thing I noticed was the battens, main battens at the top of the main. Getting those just right is not easy. There's not a real easy way to set those properly, but it makes a big difference. The tension and getting that right and being able to replicate that from day to day, to regatta to regatta. Make sure that there's one person dedicated to doing it, making sure that the batten pockets, the batten themselves are set right and being able to replicate them. One of the things I do when I first set them up is usually little rocket tensioners where you can screw a little screw in the back of the batten and it actually starts to tighten in the pocket. What I try to do is get it to where the batten starts to what I call tack, where it's actually kind of flops inside the pocket a little bit, and you tighten it up until you can feel it with your fingers. You kind of make it kind of go back and forth until you can feel it go flop, flop. It shouldn't be super tight. It should be just where it starts to do that. That to me is what I call zero. And from there, once I get the sail up, I can look at it and say, geez, it's still a little bit too loose. I'll put a couple more turns on it. Take the main down, put a turn or two until you get the shape. Obviously, the tighter you have it, the more shape it adds into the sail, the harder it is to flop it in light air. I mean, it shouldn't be super hard to get the sail to tack over from side to side. So just finding that balance, and you know, if you need to keep you can mark them, you can undo the turns, pull the batten out, put the turns back on and mark it, so you can always set it to zero and count. And every boat should have its a book, notes, wet note book that you keep notes in, and just like we do with rig tune, with shroud tensions and calipers and forestay, batten tensions with these full mains need to also have some replication in it. Main halyards, a lot of the main halyards weren't quite all the way up into the band. Just try to get it, it takes a little practice of getting it up there. But what also happens with the luff of the mains on the Melges IC37s is when you get to the band, going downwind, you'll get where the main halyard's too tight and you get those luff wrinkles. So you can just ease it down just to get a little bit of that luff wrinkle out so it's not so strong downwind and such a big bump in the main, and that's probably going to be your sweet spot for the halyard tension. One of the things I wanted to talk about is the tack offset. You can see here that we get a little bit of a bubble in here. And one of the things I notice is that if the tack had come back just a little bit when you're depowered, these mains are very full in general. It's very hard to get in the light air to get this main flat enough. And one of the things I think is worth playing around with is just maybe a longer shackle. This will allow the tack to float back a little bit more and take some of the depth out of the bottom of the main. So something to consider here. You can see the pucker in here a little bit. Not a smooth transition, still very full main, very light air, so something you should play around a little bit with. Okay. Main trim. We talked a little bit about main trim in the debriefs, and on this boat, the square top of the sail is very large and has a pretty predominant effect on how the boat goes through the water. The boat's a little bit of a heavier boat for the sail size, and the danger with the main is over trimming it. And one of the things I noticed is that there's a telltale, not that one at the gaff, at the very tippy top of the leech. That's at the very corner, not that one, but the next telltale down. Normally, what we do is we trim that so it tucks in behind the back of the main. So that means, yeah, you're trimming hard enough, you're losing just a little bit of a flow. That's kind of a rule of thumb for a lot of boats, but not this boat. And if you notice, there are telltales, white telltales, up at the top in front of the leech of that telltale, which I'll call number 2 telltale. And what happens if that top leech telltale is tucked in? You've lost flow. The air has detached from the back of the main at the top of the sail, which is not fast. You've lost the gas pedal part, and it also flattens the boat out a little bit, right? You're not getting the power out of the main by doing that. And I think some of the people, trying to get this boat rocked up, which is very important to get the boat heeled over like it is right here. You can see this boat's probably got the right amount of heel angle. Wetted surface is right at a minimum. You can see right at the flat spot of the stern. So it's very done. So danger of trimming this main too hard. And the balance of trying to get the boat loaded in light air, two of the things you can do is travel her up a little bit more, but keep the twist in the sail so you're not closing the top and losing the detach on the top. But also ease the outhaul. The return, the backside of the main of the leech has return built into it. If you ease the outhaul, you get a little more return. So that'll help also put a little more heel in the boat, a little more grunt into the sail, but it also can be a bit of a break. So there's a little bit of a balance you have to have there. And this boat, getting the bow down and just getting up to speed quickly, and then squeezing on the main, a little traveler up, but not overdoing the top of the sail, where you detach the wind on the backsides is the key. And that's what we saw with some boats that weren't going particularly good, had the main over trimmed at the top a little bit. So a little bit twistier. If you're not going well, ease the sheet, twist the main a little bit more, and see if the boat frees up and goes forward. All right, one of the other comments that were made for Saturday was, like on the FAR 40s, with the main sheet being so long and having winches for the main sheet, having a second person on the leeward main sheet winch rounding the mark can be very, very helpful. It's hard to get and to trim the main in by yourself quick enough when you turn 100 or degrees around a leeward mark. So if there's a spare person, which there usually is, have that person go down and help trim the main. And usually the comms that I use is trim main now, and that leeward person's just going to grind until the main trimmer says stop, and they'll dictate, because they'll be pulling too, and it's hard for the leeward one to know when to stop. So the windward main trimmer needs to just tell the person that's grinding, the spare person, to stop. All right, one of the other things that we can continue to work on, which I think would help, is the draft stripe. The bottom of the jib draft stripe's very high on this boat. When you set up the jib, what do? You look at the depth of the main down low, and then you look at the twist profile of the sail up to the top spreader. And those are your two indicators. And I think by lowering, if there's a chance to lower this bottom, you can see this bottom draft stripe's kind of right above the boom there and the deck. If you put it halfway in between there, it will really help give you the ability to eyeball the depth of that jib a little bit easier and help replicate the trim so the sail's not too flat or too full, which is easy to do with the adjustability in the in the in the cars in the, for the jib track cars. It's very hard to replicate the settings, but that's something that would help the jib trimmer a bit. All right, so just wanted to go and put up some of these pictures that I had from the stern that we got on Saturday. And these are a little bit, you can see here, just trying to get a sense, of here's Blazer. Jib looks a little bit tighter trimmed here, a little bit looser down here on Gamecock, a little fuller, a little more gruntier. Traveler positions look a little bit just above center there. These guys are maybe a little bit more center. Blazer a little bit more center, a little bit more twist in the main. So the main here is a little bit eased and a little bit twistier with a flatter jib, where the gruntier jib here and a tighter main sheet here on Gamecock, you would think that the Blazer setup might be a little bit better. Okay, let's take a look at Midnight here. They're very high up on the Traveler, very high up. Jib trim looks a little bit twisted, a little bit tighter in, so just a little bit Flying Jenny open more on the main. You'd think maybe the Flying Jenny setup in this particular picture might be a little bit faster. They got a little more breeze here comparing these two a little bit, but just got to be careful. Traveler's really high here. Just making sure you're not over twisting the top of the main and losing flow on the backside of the main. Arethusa and Pacific Yankee. Jib trim looks a little bit almost the same. I would say maybe a smidge tighter on Arethusa here, but Leech Pro is definitely sheeting harder on the main here. I think these guys got a nice little twist profile, and is probably a pretty good setup here on the picture for Pacific Yankee. My only comment on Arethusa would be just maybe a little bit too tight on. You can see Traveler's up a little bit more. Traveler's almost center line here. So Traveler up and ease the main sheet a little bit here and see if that helps, if it's a mode that works better more often. All right, any questions, you can always email me. Thank you very much.